Hello and welcome to the Bad Movie Reviews channel, hosted by none other than your two favourite Aussie hosts, Daniel and Ben. Today we'll actually be reviewing, I guess, one of my more anticipated films of the year, but not necessarily Avatar level. Not to take any shots at this, but we'll be reviewing the FABELMANS, which, for anyone who doesn't know, is the latest Steven Spielberg film, which is kind of a biography on his own life for anyone who doesn't know. So they've obviously given, I guess, fake, names in a way, but it's set up in Arizona, and it's, I guess a coming of age tale of Steven Spielberg and his life. But I don't really want to. We've just gotten out from seeing this, and I don't really want to touch on too much of the plot because it's kind of a lot to unpack, and I'm trying to think at the moment still of obviously my thoughts. We've obviously caught an early screening, so this review will go up when that embargo lifts. But what were your thoughts on the film overall?
Well, unlike you, where this is your most anticipated
Well,
film
no,
of the year, I
just adore Steven Spielberg.
Yeah, I didn't even know it was a film until we actually went and go watched it, so didn't even know it was happening. But you know what? It was a good thing because I went in pretty open-minded to this, which is pretty easy to do when you have no idea what's going on. But it was good. I don't know what I was expecting, but I thought sometimes I don't really like biographies too much or any biopic-related stuff, but it told a really true down-to-earth tale of someone's upbringing who went through some challenging times and all the steps it took for them to become to where they are and all the adventures along the way and all the challenges and everything in between. It was good. It shows a fair grasp into, or a tiny little eye scope into whatever word I'm trying to think of, into his life and how he got to where he was. And it was a good film. The acting, I couldn't tell if it was always absolutely fantastic or it was bad because it was so realistic that it kind of seemed a little bit sorry, not that the acting was bad, but because it was so realistic, some of the responses that it seemed bad. I don't know.
It's not Hollywoodized. It's very. It's
real.
To touch on what you're saying,
you know what I'm trying to say.
It's written to a very real aspect. It's not really Hollywoodized in a way where the dialogue is very, very dramatic or in a sense. It's very realistic, which makes it kind of feels a bit. You kind of get a bit of a shock almost in terms of the dialogue and the acting because it's, as we said, it's not Hollywoodized. It's not dramatized in a way.
See, it's good you're here.
It's a very realistic telling of, I guess, a family and obviously the struggles that they deal with, where I get what you mean, where it kind of, it wasn't obviously a traditional performance. It was very over the top in terms, it's almost like a play performance. Yeah. Like a stage performance where it's very over the top in a way where it's real life.
Yeah.
Not obviously, not in a way where they're acting in front of a camera and it's just for that lens and that camera. It's very much almost like you're watching it unfold in real life.
Yeah. They're responding to the real life elements as the film's going along.
Which is credit to the actors, really. I get where you're coming from.
As I said, it's both great and felt really
It felt like a bit of a show, but looking back on it, at the time I was kind of laughing at the certain aspects, but I was like, you know what, it's very realistic at the same time.
But good. Look, It was good. I really enjoyed it. I thought it told a fantastic story, and I didn't know too much about his background. I think it's a good origin story.
Good origin story. Good origin story to the Batman.
Otherwise, look, just a good film. I really enjoyed it. That's for sure. There's I really want to touch on a little bit more spoiler-added stuff, but I won't touch on that right now anyway. So I'll pass on to you.
Well, you come towards, I guess, the end of the thing, and we'll add in a warning. But I probably have a little bit more to talk about, and I'll try and not get emotional or teary-eyed, to be honest. I thought the acting here was fantastic, and Paul Dano, who obviously we've seen currently this year as the Riddler in the Batman, was really good as Bert Fableman, the father, and Judd Hirsch is the uncle who's only in there for like 3 minutes, but he was unreal in his scene. And Gabrielle, who's, I guess, Sammy, was also really good. But the biggest props to Michelle Williams, who, if you're watching this, we all know she's fantastic, and she plays the mum. She was unbelievable. And yeah, I don't know what else to more say on the performance side of things, but everyone here sort of brought their A game and made it as realistic as possible, which, as I said, is kind of a bit like a shock to your system, but like made it very realistic in an unreal way. It's hard to explain, but Steven Spielberg obviously directs it, who we know is obviously, I mean, one of the greatest directors of all time. And you can really tell with every frame that this film is kind of like probably one of his most personal, if not his, or it would be his most personal film by a long shot. And I got to give props because he deals with very sensitive subjects, which like as a kid would be very hard to deal with. And obviously looking back now, which, I mean, he's in his 70s, I'm sure, God bless their souls, they've probably passed away by now. That, you know, looking back on would be very hard, but it's so well directed, and every shot is beautiful, and you kind of forget how good he is in a way. Like I haven't really, I mean, we obviously really liked West Side Story, but this is definitely one of his best films in quite some time.
Yeah, you put a lot of heart and soul into it.
Yeah, you can tell this is his kind of magnum opus. It's the one he's probably not necessarily wanted to make his whole career, but one that he it's definitely a love letter to his parents and his upbringing, and you can really see that. And in terms of the story, like, I guess coming from myself who didn't necessarily have, I guess, kind of used films as an escape of reality, and had not a tough upbringing, but wasn't necessarily the happiest of kids, and loved film and media and movies in general, where you can sit in a theatre and escape for 2 hours. You kind of really, and if you do like film, you can really relate to Sammy's character. And there's a tough scene with the uncle where they kind of talk about loving art more than family, which I would never necessarily say I do, but it's kind of really tackles some themes quite in a very well done way, but it's actually quite hard to watch. And I've not necessarily ever sat here and wanted to direct films. I've never thought I've been that, talented, but I can relate to Sammy's character in kind of every way, and it's really hard to watch, and it got me really emotional. I'm trying to find the right words to talk about it without sounding like not a nonsense. It's someone who not without sounding like a bit like a flog, really. But I don't really know how to talk about it in, I guess, a critical way, because I kind of relate and feel this film in such a personal level of someone who just loves art and obviously the film media in such a way that it kind of evoked so much emotion and feeling within me. I didn't sit there and like cry by any means, but there's scenes with his mum that felt very similar to stuff I guess I've been through, and even with the father, and I don't know, it's just so realistic. It was, as I said already, it's kind of a bit hard to watch almost, because I kind of related to it very deeply. I'm sure if you like film, you probably, if you're like me and you've liked film and watched it your whole life and love media and movies, if you're probably watching this, you probably are similar, and I highly recommend you to watch it. It's a remarkable piece of work, which I can't really, I sit here and I can't believe that he made it, because I watched it and it was hard to watch, and like just sitting there and trying to imagine being behind the camera and direct these scenes where it deals with such personal aspects of his life and his family. And the biggest thing is it matches, like it has so many themes. It's a growing up, or like genres really. It's a growing up, coming of age film at its heart and soul. But it's a film about family, and it's I guess a drama as well as a comedy aspect. And a lot of people generally talk about Steven Spielberg being, I guess, the master of young kids interacting with adults and adults interacting with young kids. But this film actually kind of switched that up. And it's probably the first film I've seen of his where he actually takes that layer away and deals with just family, like family interactions. And he does it so incredibly well. I don't want to kind of ramble on, so...
It was beautiful. It was beautifully sad. It was a gorgeous film.
Yeah, like sure. I got really emotional, and I'm sure if I sit here in 3 weeks' time and review it or touch on it again, I did get home and kind of got teary-eyed just thinking about it, and I had things in my mind, and I've kind of just, while I've sat behind the camera, they've just like lost me, and I can't remember, but I'll probably end up like tearing up or crying if I touch on them. But I don't necessarily think it's like probably in my top 10 of the year or anything, but it's something that is really personal to him, and I found it really personal to me in terms of just someone who obviously loves film, and it's a love letter to cinema as well for sure, which I think is the biggest thing. Which being a director for 50 plus years nearly now, or even in his kid and in his teenage years. He obviously loves film and art, so highly recommend everyone to see it. I've said a lot, but no, I definitely recommend everyone to see it and let us know what you think in the comments. If you have watched it, I think it comes out January 5th in Australia. So by the time this review goes out, I think it's a week or so before. So
January 10th.
No, I think it said 5th. I can't remember. Oh. I'll have a look. But yeah. Other than that, do you have anything you want to? I know you said you might want to go into like a little bit more spoiler territory.
You kind of covered all the extra details that I want. Sometimes I struggle with putting things into words without kind of going into spoilers, but you're not bad at that. So you're good. It's a good film.
Going around the bush.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's a good film. Worth a watch.
Definitely worth a watch. Let us, if you have seen it, let us know what you think in the comments. Feel free to watch our other reviews that have gone up. By the time this goes up, that would be irrelevant because that's, I think, 3 weeks away that this needs to go up. So
that's fine. We'll have other reviews up. Yeah, it's all good.
Feel free to catch us if you obviously comment, subscribe. Other than that, we'll catch you next time.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.